play, whether it was physically strenuous, mentally strenuous, emotionally strenuous, whether or not there was any pain involved, pain being an indicator that you have a lesson to learn. It's just an indicator, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial. Pain just is an indicator that you have a lesson. But this idea of the power of 64 was that most people were productive 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That was the litmus test of the man made construct of time. Since the 50s, people have been working 40-hour work weeks and supposed to be productive. And all the comp plans and pay stubs and all the different criteria of how you're compensated for the activity you get paid for was determined upon 8 hours of productivity, 5 days a week. So I started with the basics and said, what if I was able, through focus, to be productive, have activity that I got paid for 16 hours a day? What if I could do that consistently, persistently, and do that 7 days a week? What if I could do that? And so I started to create the habits necessary to be productive twice as many hours for 7 days a week instead of 5. And I knew that with the same performance that I would get exponential, about 2.5 times the results of anyone else, which would absolutely help me get what I want more rapidly and more accurate. At that time, it was to be rich, to make more money, activity that I got paid for. And then I started looking to see how I would do that. And the first thing I realized is I better have a routine. And when I started that routine, I had to figure out how best to use my time to stay focused. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to wake up or get to activity I get paid for at 9 a.m. So I started at 4, which immediately gave me 5 extra hours of productivity on the front end of my day. Now I just had to find 3 extra hours of productivity on the back end of my day. And if I could utilize my routine from that 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. schedule, then I could be productive 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that became one of the habit machines in order to effectuate that. The second thing I did is there had to be systems to be more efficient. What if with those 16 hours of productivity that I could be more efficient, get twice as much done as most people do in an 8-hour day, but what if I could get twice as much done in 16 hours? That 16 hours then became 32 hours of productivity, 7 days a week. So I go from 2.5 times to 5 times the productivity of everyone else. And then what if I took my activity I got paid for as a science, as a profession, and I practiced it and I looked at it and I was more interested than interesting and did research on it, asked for help and provided help, and could be twice as statistically successful as other people in that time frame. My 32 hours of productivity could then be 64 hours of productivity, 7 days a week, which gave me 10 times the productivity of everyone else. So every year at the age of 24, I was going to gain 10 years of productivity. So when I was 25, it would be like when other people were 35. And when I was 26, it would be when they were 46, and so on and so on. And so when people ask me how I blew out my comp plan and made over $1 million within 9 months of getting out of law school, I tell them quite emphatically, I beat you with math. And I've continued to beat people with math by being more productive than anyone else. And I've created the routine to do that. Now, one of the things that I realized when I created the routine was that there was days when it was very difficult to stick to that routine, especially when I was younger. And there was a lot of fun things that would come up, like weddings and bachelor parties and friends that came in time, and golf and big events like the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, all the sporting things I like to do. And so I created an adaptable routine. And the adaptable routine kept in mind that I was going to be as productive, efficient, and effective as I did when I had my normal routine, but it was going to be based off of my values. And so I would then make sure that there was a minimum amount of time every day spent on what was most important to me. And back then, for me, family was most important, and then work, and then my health. Now that's completely turned upside down now that I spend a minimum amount of 1 hour a day on my health, a minimum of 30 minutes a day with my wife, a minimum of 30 minutes a day with my 10-year-old son, a minimum of 2 minutes a day with each of my teenage daughters. I wanted 5 minutes, they gave me 2, and a minimum of 1 minute a day with my mom. By the way, best advice I still give is how to build your relationships with your parents is simply every single day, tell them, number 1, that you're happy, 2, that you're healthy, 3, that you love them, and 4, that you appreciate them. These times are all minimums. Of course, I spend more time where I can, but every single day, one of the ideas of time is exponentiality. 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. The consistency within those relationships and relativity of time allow us to get acceleration, growth, and exponentiality by using time effectively, efficiently with statistical success. You're much better off doing things consistently, persistently, in the pursuit of whatever objectives there are. And that's why the power of 64 is so important. That's why having 2 separate routines are so important. A set routine, mine ranging from today now, 4 a.m. to 9 p.m., and moreover, an adaptable routine, which is based on the values that I have. And those values consistently and persistently allow me to have acceleration, growth, etc. Now, moving forward from there, looking to see how we do that, one of the best ways is in the efficiency. So many people don't look at what they're doing to figure out how they can do it better. And I created what I call the 4-minute rule. And the idea of the 4-minute rule started from when I started looking at what do I do every hour? What do I do every day, every week, every month? I found patterns in my life of things that I did. And what I found was, for example, I started with the easy thing of brushing my teeth, flossing my teeth, washing my mouth out with Listerine. I realized that I do that every single day. And I also realized that early in the morning, I would lose track and daydream in the morning of when I was doing it. And I'd waste a bunch of time on something that wasn't necessarily very efficient, effective, or statistically successful. That what if I stayed focused and instead of on average taking 6 minutes a day to brush my teeth, that I could actually reduce that down to 2 minutes a day, saving 4 minutes a day, which in the end resulted in 24 hours of productivity a year. 3 full average days of productivity a year to facilitate brushing my teeth and being focused. And when I realized that, I started on a quest, and I still am. I'm always looking for 4 minutes. I'm always looking at what can I do 4 minutes better, because I know it results in 3 full days of productivity compared to the average man-made construct, the old 40-hour week person. Incredible. And I can spend it however I want. I can spend it with my kids. I can spend it on my health. I can spend it writing. I can spend it researching. I can spend it lying in the sun. I can spend it sleeping. It didn't matter. I now could create time by finding efficiencies, statistical success, and of course, productivity. Now, how could I effectuate all this? The greatest secret to time management is your calendar. And now I have many different calendars and I try to keep them all reconciled. But the idea of studying your calendar is the most crucial way for time management, to be what I call the Meltzer kaleidoscope, the 3 values, the 3 lenses that are necessary. Number 1, to be more productive, right? The idea is 64 hours. The power of 64 is, can you have 64 hours of productivity, activity you get paid for, activity you don't get paid for, all productive, which means adding value to, creating value for, allowing value to come through you for others. And if you can use your calendar as that platform, as that cornerstone to what you do, you'll start learning that the lens of productivity of looking at, number 1, what you have planned, number 2, what you don't have planned. So many people never study with a lens of productivity all the free time that they have, all the time that they could spend doing what they want to do, either activity they get paid for, activity they don't. And of course, the most important lens, which is the lens of gratitude. Now, gratitude in the lens of gratitude says that I will seek the light, the love, and the lessons in everything. If you're seeking the light, the love, and the lessons, you are seeking productivity. Now, the second lens of accessibility is how accessible am I to other people to provide value and service, but also how am I accessing what I want? So many people go through the day and get nothing done, right? Nothing done. And the reason is they don't know what they want. They haven't put it in a calendar. They haven't even looked at it, let alone studied it. And the idea of studying it is a universal law to me. The idea of studying it says that I'm not only going to look at it or pay attention to it, but I'm going to give it my intention. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to look at things in my calendar, pay attention to them, but give it my intention. What am I going to think about this, do, say, believe? How's it affecting my own frequency of my personality traits? How are those applicable? My character, my characteristics, my obsessions, how can they be utilized to my advantage, not my disadvantage in this habit machine? And of course, any of those compulsive obsessions or behaviors that are indicative of 4 generations or 4 lifetimes previous to me, I'm going to leverage all patterns in my favor by being a student of my calendar. And I'm going to study every single day. Now, you have to be more interested than interesting. If we start studying all of these things, what we do, what we have planned, what we don't have planned, we also have to study one more thing, our sleep. It's so important to study your sleep. Why? Well, because not only does it regenerate and rejuvenate, but it actually allows us to plateau and grow. So many people with the activity that they get paid for and the activity they don't get paid for, so many people with their productivity actually end up damaging themselves and end up in a lesser position or the same position over and over again. And if we end up in the same position, I call it the myth of Sisyphus, which is an old ancient mythology story about a man who carried and pushed a boulder up to the top of the hill every single day just to find it at the bottom of the hill the next morning. Instead of that, what we can do by being a student of our calendar and by studying sleep is plateau and grow. We can actually wake up at a higher frequency. We can wake up at a truer enlightenment. We can wake up with greater clarity, balance, and focus about what we want for the next day and be able to execute on what we want in that manner. And if we can execute every day in a productive, accessible, and gracious manner, if we can access that power of 64 every single day, we will beat everyone with math. And there will be no relativity involved into that time. The only thing about relativity of time that has to be taken into place, which is why sleep is so important, is it really beyond the man-made construct of 24 hours a day or a 40-hour work week or whatever man-made construct you want to put on your time. It's faith. And what do I mean by that? To manage time, we have to realize that we could extract it from our decision-making process. Time itself is a variable when we put it into our perception, meaning that if we look backwards, time seems so fast, and if we look forward, it seems so long. Those minutes are not equal in our perception because of faith. And if you want to see where your faith lies, when you make decisions, go ahead and take time out of your decision-making process and say to yourself, would I buy that house if time didn't exist? If I knew I'd live 1,000,000 lifetimes, would I buy that house? Would I buy that car? Would I spend that money? Would I worry about that money? Would I make that money? Would I spend my time to make that money? Would I have the same values and alignment with being productive and accessible and gracious in the manner that I am? Would I take my time even to study my calendar if I believe there was no time, that time was infinity? Because if we take time out of the equation, we now are at the core of faith, that we can have faith in what we're doing, that it is directly aligned with our values and not an administration of the man-made construct of time. And so many people put so much pressure on themselves because of time. In fact, they allow time to work against them by thinking that they need to make this much money in this amount of time, or they need to get this done in this amount of time, or they only have this much time to do things. In fact, in my TV show Elevator Pitch, if you watch it, one of the things that makes the show work so well is that in the elevator, which no one really can see, staring them right in the face, is this huge clock that counts down from 60 seconds down to 0. And it's amazing because there's some extraordinary entrepreneurs with some extraordinary businesses that allow time to create the resistance, shortages, voids, and obstacles to what they want. They've taken so much time to prepare. They've taken so much time to fly across the country, to audition, to get into a show, knowing exactly what's going to happen. And even though they've watched all 6 seasons of Elevator Pitch, even though they've sat in and practiced again and again and again, even though they've written business plans, executive summary, raised money, made money, worked this business every day, putting one simple clock in front of them ticking down disrupts their entire business. It disrupts their entire vision. It disrupts their entire performance. And we do that all the time. We create resistance, voids, and shortages by using time in the wrong way, instead of using it to our advantage, as in the power of 64, as in our advantage by studying what we have planned, studying what we don't have planned, studying our sleep. We use it to a disadvantage to create more pressure, resistance, void, shortages, and obstacles. And we allowed others to do the same. Others to do the same. Now, one other aspect of time is the wastefulness of time. And we allow, because we're all accountable, right? We are accountable for everything in our life. What do we do to attract this to ourselves? What are we supposed to learn from it? We're all accountable, but we allow people to waste our time. One of the most frustrating things that I see people do is they will have gatherings, whether they're virtual or in person, and they will rely on one person and wait for one person. So there might be 50 or 5,000 people, and yet one person's not there, and they'll wait. And they don't realize that by waiting 5 minutes times 50 times 5,000, they've just reduced the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude of the situation. So I have many rules with time, that we must start on time, that we start whether everyone's there or not. I have a 5-20 rule. And the 5-20 rule is an objective to be efficient, effective, and statistically successful with my time. 2 of the main uses of my time for activity that I get paid for and activity I don't get paid for is, number 1, telephone calls, and number 2, meetings or interviews. And so my objective of every telephone call is to get off of the call to meet my objective within 5 minutes. Because I believe after 5 minutes of an activity that I get paid for, a phone call that I get paid for, that I am just visiting. And then if I'm going to visit with someone, it's going to be planned and my objective will be clear, and I would want to spend much more time than 5 minutes visiting. But in order to be productive, accessible, and gracious, in order to be efficient, effective, and statistically successful, I have a 5-20 rule. I try to keep all of my business calls, my activities I get paid for on a telephone, to a 5 minute, and meetings to 20, and interviews to 20. Now, are there exceptions? Absolutely. Exceptions for sure. But the amount of productivity that you can have when 10 out of 11 calls are set under 5 minutes, or 10 out of 11 meetings or interviews are set under 20 minutes. It's amazing. How many times have you been on the phone call, or have you been in a meeting, just like brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth, and kind of look up out of that daze and realize, oh my gosh, where did that hour go? Or even worse, where did that 2 hours go? If we can't stay focused on what we want in our objectives and enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of that, time is a gift. And if we can stay present, it becomes our gift. And we need to stay present by utilizing these tools to consistently look for the efficiencies, effectiveness, and statistical success. To use a platform like a calendar to study, to pay attention to, and give intention to the coincidences that we want. There is no luck. Coincidences are a mathematical occurrence. When you pay attention to and give intention to something, that coincidence will happen. It may not be a planned coincidence, but a coincidence will happen in order to effectuate what you want rapidly and accurately. The next thing in order to stay present, though, is my famous rule of prioritization. The best way to prioritize things is to do them. And the best way to do them is to do them now. In the fear of being repetitive, I have to tell you that I'm not a big fan of statistics. I've always said that there was only one statistic that I knew to be true, and that's 99% of all statistics were made up. I then found out playing golf that there was another statistic that I found to be true in golf. 100% of all short putts don't go in. I now have one more statistic I know to be true, one that will change your life, one that's directly related to time management, and that is 100% of all things that you do now get done. And the difference between passionate, purposeful, and profitable people is that they get things done every day. In order to get things done, not only do you need to be a student in your calendar, but you got to do things now. So when I have things planned, unplanned, or sleep, I ask myself, can I do it now? And if I do it now, if I can do it now, I get it done. That makes me exponentially more successful and saves me at least twice as much time. Every time I do something now, it saves me at least twice as much time. You get double the amount of things that you get done simply by asking yourself, can I do it now? If so, do it now. And if you can't do it now, then place it in your calendar for either that day or the next day and prioritize it. How do we prioritize things? Well, in order to prioritize things, number one, we need to take inventory of our values. Our personal values, our experiential values, our giving values, and receiving values every single day. Because we are changing, we are growing, we are accelerating. We have faith in the fact that we're going to get the results that we want. And in order to do that, we need to know our values in order to prioritize what is important to us according to that day's time of being present. Sometimes things seem so urgent, but they're not important. And we allow them to get in the way because we have no construct or no consideration of what our values are, our personal values, experiential, giving and receiving values. And we end up not making the most important calls during the day or not doing the most important things during the day, getting distracted by something that seems to be urgent or some time suck or emotion suck that ends up not only taking up our time, but sucking our energy or creating interference or voids or shortages for ourselves. So many times people ask me, hey, can I go over this with you? Or I have something that I need to talk to you about. Well, I make sure that I utilize the right time frame in order to do so. Every once in a while, I make the mistake and I'll try to squeeze in an emotional interaction where I should know better that one, what if it needs to go over and I can't withdraw from the conversation? Or two, what if the conversation takes place and it sucks my emotions and I need more time in order to what? Stop, drop, and roll, to be a ferocious Buddha, to get down to center, which ends up to be the last thing in time management, which most people don't think about. Right? It's quite obvious to be productive, accessible, and gracious. It's quite obviously to create the power of 64, to be more efficient, effective, and statistically successful. It's obvious to do things now. It's obvious to use your calendar and study what you have planned with attention plus intention to equal the coincidences that you want, what you don't have planned. And of course, sleep. And one of the magical things about planning for sleep is to have a wind down routine. Everybody's so worried about the wind up routine of I meditate for 20 minutes. I stretch before I work out, I get going, I get warmed up. But everyone's forgetting about the wind down to the big event, which is sleep. The big event that exponentially catapults you to what you want in a more rapid and accurate manner. So create a downturn for yourself. Create a system to allow yourself to slowly but surely unwind. Right, every night by 9 o'clock, I am in my downturn, in my unwinding routine, and that routine allows me to make sure that every night that I pass out before 11 o'clock, so I can wake up at 4. Sometimes it's by 9:05, sometimes it's before 10:59, but I get at minimum 5 hours of very, very good sleep with no interference, corrosion with my ego, connected to that great source of light lesson so I can plateau and grow every single day. Now, how do we eliminate distractions? How can we stay on target with all of these things? My favorite rule: to practice ending fear. What are distractions? Distractions are the ability to think that we can do two things at once. It's the ability to not prioritize, but mainly it is the acceleration in the wrong direction. That's what a distraction is. A distraction is an acceleration in the wrong direction caused by something that has created interference, corrosion, shortages, voids, and obstacles from what we want, the truth, our potential. And so even if we follow all of these instructions by taking inventory of our values and being efficient, effective, statistically successful, being with a lens of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, using a student calendar, doing it now, all of these great things, power of 64, we still have to know that our greatest nemesis is fear. And so we need to practice ending that fear, that when we feel there's a certain thing that always distracts, we can't help ourselves, but we get engaged in that argument with that important person in our lives. We can't help ourselves, but we look at our Instagram. We can't help ourselves. We start binge watching a show. We can't help ourselves. We overeat and eat and have to go and get into a habit of making sure that we get, 2 lattes every 3 hours. And we don't realize that these time sucks, these distractions are avoidances. They're avoidances from what we're afraid we have the capability of doing. We're not afraid of not getting things done. We're most afraid about the unbelievable power that we have, the light, the love, and the lessons in us. We're most afraid about what we can do. What if I actually can do this? Oh my gosh, what if I actually, right? What if? And that's what we're afraid of. So we have to practice ending fear and know that there is no separation. We don't have a need to be inferior or superior or not worthy, resentful, offended, or guilty, or anxious, or frustrated, or worried, or angry. Any of these things that are what? Distractions from our productivity, activity we get paid for, activity we don't get paid for. Time and faith are closely related. Time and truth are one. If we can use our time to consistently every day, persistently without quit, pursue our own potential, knowing what that is every single day, not being afraid of being a hypocrite and changing our mind. If we can do that, we will live the power of 64. We will live to our maximum capability. We can make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Be a student of time, have faith in time, realize time is not only a man-made construct, but is relative to everything, whether you're looking behind you and it seems so short or looking in front of you and it seems so far. Please join me in utilizing our time aligned with what's best, and that's to be happy. Time is a key factor in your happiness. If you use your time in a productive way, you will be happy. If you use your time to make a lot of money, if you use your time to help a lot of people, if you use your time to have a lot of fun, 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. I promise you, you will be passionate, purposeful, and profitable in everything that you do. And most importantly, you'll be happy. And hopefully you'll empower others with these same lessons to be happy, to empower others to be happy. I appreciate everybody's time, no pun intended. Thank you so much. If you want the work guide, the exercise, my book about the power of 64, all of that right here, david@dmeltzer.com. Text me 949-298-2905. This training is free. Share it with your friends. The replays on my Playbook, the podcast every Monday, YouTube every single day. Check it out. Let's answer some questions now. Get to what you guys really want to know. Thank you, everyone, so much for your time. We'll jump right into it. Are there any things that your kids do to waste time that frustrates you? Well, first of all, my kids come through me, not for me. So I have found that it's a waste of my time to get frustrated about how my kids are spending or anyone else is spending their time. The productive things to do is to set an example of how to use your time and to help them facilitate what their values are in order to use their time aligned with their values. And so many times we tell our kids how to use their time. We force them to use their time instead of teaching them, empowering them about understanding what is valuable to them, understanding about the exponential growth and acceleration that exercise and stretching and eating right and practicing something, the 10,000 reps, giving them books like Outliers, giving them other things to do and opportunities. I have had more success with my children just inviting them on walks with me, right? Where I used to get frustrated and yell, saying, why are you on that game? Why are you watching Netflix? Why are you binge watching Friends? That thing's old, right? I just simply say, hey, want to take a walk with me? And it's amazing in that walk how we can share ideas, how we can get alignment of values, how we can see what capabilities are, in the pursuit for that person, and learn about what makes them happy and help share with them situational knowledge, experience, and other relationship capital to help those kids. And so getting frustrated is just a waste of your time. And so that just defines you as someone that gets frustrated. Your kids are not for you, they're through you. So is everyone else. So let's allow them and empower them and learn from them. Be more interested than interesting. Find more efficient, effective, and statistically successful ways to help them spend their time aligned with their values. Remind them that 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. Ask them to take a walk with you. Ask them to take a ride with you. Ask them to share an experience with you. And if they don't want to, ask them why. Ask them what they'd rather do and see if you can share in that experience with them. Next question. Good morning. I'm enrolled with your happiness. I would like to know what are offering for coaching. What are the price? Please let me know. So my coaching and trainings are free on Friday. My books are free. My exercises, my guides are free. I have a new private coaching group that you can reach out to me if you're interested. And I do one-on-one business advisory, but I have to be very selective because I guarantee profitability. I only work month to month and guarantee everything I do. That's very limited. But everybody, please join me for free training, free books, free podcasts, free exercises, free guides. Go ahead, david@dmeltzer.com. Text me 949-298-2905. Okay. But thank you. Yeah. Happy to talk to you about it, but I'm very, very selective for that. Next, how often do you sacrifice sleep? Okay. I don't sacrifice anything. First of all, I make proper sleep a priority so that I don't burn out. But sometimes I feel like I should be okay with getting maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep a couple of days a week. So don't sacrifice anything. Make an investment in, right? It's like saying I'm sorry compared to thank you, right? Any circumstance that you say sorry, you could say, instead of sorry I'm late, you could say thank you for your patience. The same thing with sacrifice. There is no sacrifice, right? Sacrifice means that you are not getting, right? I receive so I can give. So I'm investing in myself. And if I'm making the investment by having a couple extra awake hours than normal, I'm going to make that investment. The more efficient and effective and consistent I am with my sleep, the better. I know from my sleep mentor that the ideal amount of sleep for most people, determined upon an average quantum being, would be 7 hours. But genetically, some people have a greater composition, a quantum memory, that they don't need as much sleep. So general rules of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours are generalizations. They don't apply to all quantum beings. And so if you want to make an investment in yourself, then to make an investment in sleep, and sometimes you only get a certain amount of hours of sleep, make sure that you use your thermostat of how you feel in order to indicate whether you're getting enough investment in sleep or not. Does that sound fair? Great question there. Next, how do you avoid distractions, or when they hit, how do you get back on track? So you're not going to avoid distractions. That would mean that you have complete control of life. You're not going to avoid the distractions. So the second part of the question is the most powerful. When distractions come, how do you get back on track? So this is a practice, right? A practice of clarity, a practice of balance, a practice of focus, which will bring more and more confidence. And so what we want to do is create a habit about when distractions take place. And the first way of taking advantage of a habit is to be aware of it. So what we first need to do is be aware of distractions. And we want to be aware of what situations cause distractions. So many times I make a mistake. I'll go ahead and set up something that I know I want to be focused in on in a situation that is laden with distractions. And without making any warning, without setting and managing expectations. So for example, I may have office hours at my beach house in San Diego, knowing that my kids are having friends over and there's people and visitors and this and that. And then somehow I'm surprised that there's so many distractions that I can't stay focused on what I'm trying to achieve. on the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude that I'm trying to have. I'm so surprised and offended and resentful. I've made the mistake. I'm accountable. So what we want to do is control the situation, determined upon how important it is to be focused and be aware of the possibility of distractions and the probability of distractions, determined upon where we are. And if we are in a situation that is possible, probable to have distractions, then we need to practice the techniques that when those distractions happen, what are we going to do? And that is a key component, and it is a practice. It's progress, not perfection. So if you have children, or you are married, or you have multiple employees with an open door policy, then you better practice being able to control your focus, clarity, balance, and focus when distractions occur by having different nuances of how to respond, putting up the hand, saying, please hold on, whatever it may be. There's certain techniques that you can avoid distractions to make sure that you are staying focused and getting things done the way that you need to get them done. But do not think you can avoid distractions. What you resist persists. There are certain situations that you can control with less distractions, but I guarantee one thing: you can never avoid distractions. They will occur. You want to make God laugh? Come up with a well-developed plan, especially to avoid distractions. What you resist persists. Next question. Do you have a sample of your calendar? Would love to see how you set it up. I have posted on Instagram a sample of my calendar. We will repost it as well. I will show my daily routine in my calendar as well as my adaptable routine. So we will post that calendar. It starts at 4 a.m. I'm going to run through it real quick for people just so you can kind of get an idea of what I do. 4 a.m. I wake up, 20 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes to get ready to work out. From 4:30 to 5:30, I spend a minimum of an hour a day on my health, work out. 5:30 to 6:30, everything goes off. It's family time and get ready. 6:30 to 7:30 is study time. I go ahead and do research, study my calendar, study for interviews, study for books, study for all types of things that I'm doing. I pay attention, give attention to the coincidences I want, especially my calendar at 6:30 to 7:30. 7:30 to 8, I do coaching, executive coaching, one-on-one coaching. Then 8 o'clock, I execute on my calendar what I have planned, what I don't have planned, preparing for my sleep and my wind down routine. By 4:45, I've executed on that plan. 4:45 to 5:30, I do executive coaching. 5:30 until 7:30, everything off. Once again, no disruptions, all family time, what I want to do, everything off. 7:30 to 9, research time again. I study my calendar for the next day. I study for interviews, books that I'm writing, whatever it may be. Study. I'm paying attention to, giving intention to the coincidences that I want. And then furthermore, 9 o'clock, I start my wind down routine. I will be passed out by 9:05, but definitely before 11 to wake up the next day at 4. We will go ahead and publish that for you. Next question. Does life ever get repetitive if you plan your day every single day? If not, do you ever have days where you don't have a single event planned? So that's the funny thing, right? When you tell people you're student calendar, now they think you're obsessive compulsive and that every single minute is planned. And I didn't say that, right? I said I study what I have planned, and what I have planned might be water skiing. What I have planned might be lying by the pool. What I have planned might be hanging out, throwing pitches to my 10-year-old son, or teaching my 16-year-old how to drive, or whatever it may be. And what I have planned may be nothing, and I only have unplanned things. And to look at that. Now, there are certain things I do every day because I love the exponentiality, like a minimum of an hour a day on my health, a minimum amount of time with each of the people that I love, a minimum of time studying my calendar to get the most out of life, the most out of that time. But that consistent, persistent pursuit is not a joke to me. I am learning to find the light, the love, and the lessons in all the minutes that I've been given, whether they're man-made minutes or relativity minutes. I'm utilizing them in an efficient, effective, and statistically successful way to be as happy as I can and to help empower more people to be happy as well. Hopefully that answered that question. So any events that are planned are in my calendar. What is the biggest thing that changed in your relationship with your mom when you started connecting with her consistently? She stopped making me do things to prove that I love her. The biggest thing that happened is we had a greater bond, a greater security in our relationship. My mom used to call me and ask me to come over to do the most mundane things. Can you put the sticker on my car? What? I'm going to take 2 hours of my time to put a sticker on your car. Really? And then I get frustrated. And then, all right, it's just a terrible cycle. And so what happened was the relationship and bond between myself and my mother improved exponentially, that she felt secure. And so did I. And the relationship and the four things that we care about in our relationship: one, that I'm happy; two, that I'm healthy; three, that I love her; and four, that I appreciate her. I appreciate that she adds value to my life and I add value to hers, and that she always has my back and I always have her back. That changed immensely. And the lack of insecurity, the lack of separation, the lack of the interference has exponentially bonded us like never before. And I highly encourage in your closest relationships to articulate every single day: spouses, girlfriend, boyfriends, mommies, daddies, kids. You love them, you appreciate them, you're happy and healthy. That's what they want to know. That's what I want to know. All right. How do you get yourself to do things now that you don't want to? It's a habit. It's a very good habit. I ask myself, right, can I do it now? And if I can, I do it. One of the other things too, in the prioritization of what I can do, is that I do the tougher things, the things I don't want to do first. I call it cutting your right hand fingernails first. So I'm right-handed. Obviously, it's way more difficult to cut my right hand fingernails than it is my left hand. So what I do is I take the idea of prioritization, doing the tough things first. And it goes under a rule of mine from working out and also habit building. And it's called the first 10 minutes suck. If you can convince yourself that the first 10 minutes of anything, especially if you don't want to do it, suck, you will get so much farther in life. You'll be able to do so many more things in an efficient, effective way. If you can tell yourself, there's so many mornings I wake up after I meditate even, and I'm like, I do not want to go running. I do not want to do this. And then all I tell myself is, has there ever been one time when you went ahead and did it that you didn't feel great afterwards? Never. It's like walking away from your food. If you eat half of your meal and you walk away, I've never after 10 minutes come back and said, God, I'm so bummed I walked away from this because I'm starving now. Every time I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't overeat. 100% of the time, I feel good about my decision. But I also know one thing: the first 10 minutes suck, right? When I'm walking away from my plate halfway through a meal for a timeout, those first 10 minutes suck. I don't want to walk away. I'm starving. I can't think I'm ever going to live without finishing my meal. And I can't believe I'm ruining my meal by doing it. Or if I go work out, right, those first 10 minutes, I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, but by the end, never, ever, I'm like, oh man, that was stupid. I feel so much worse now that I worked out. No, first 10 minutes suck. And once you know that, you can do it now. Cut your right hand fingernails first. You get into these habits. You do them consistently, persistently. You'll be more productive, accessible, and gracious. You will be happier, and you'll empower other people to do the same. And you'll be fulfilled and purposeful and passionate and profitable with what you do. All right. Hi, David. How can I be myself without being afraid to be my true self in the public eye? There is no public eye because nobody gives a shit about you. I know that's mean. Nobody does. The only time people care about you in the public eye, by the way, is when you care about it yourself. And when they don't care about you is when you don't care about it yourself. People love those people that love themselves for the right reasons. So vote for what you want in your life with good intentions. Vote for what you want in your life and elect what you want in your life. Have the coincidences of your life happen. Don't worry about what other people think. You know what other people are thinking? Oh, I wonder what other people think. That's what they're thinking. I remember going to a speech when I was running Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment. Congratulations, by the way, to Leigh for that Mahomes contract. No surprise. The man deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, by the way. Incredible. But I remember my first time, I was so worried I wasn't dressed right, and meanwhile, Leigh would give speeches and he'd have his Cal Berkeley sweatshirt with chewing tobacco spilled on it and his hair uncombed and his briefcase underneath, and he didn't give a crap. And I'm like, Leigh, that look okay? And he's like, Dave, you know what? Everybody in here, nobody cares what you're wearing. They're thinking to themselves, I wonder if I look okay, if what I'm wearing is okay. Keep that in mind. Nobody gives a shit. There is no public eye. You are the public eye. What you project to others is the public eye. Let's make it one that you're proud of. Learn to love you. All right, next. Have you ever missed the deadline? If so, how did you go about it? Yes, I have missed a deadline. Been years since I missed a deadline, by the way. And the way that I went about it is I forgot. And because I wasn't in the habit machine, I wasn't true to prioritization and being a student in my calendar. The most interesting one of a deadline that I missed was that I had a deadline for a huge opportunity. And I remember specifically telling myself on the weekend, you got to call on Monday, got to get this going, the deadline for the proposal, got to have the conversation. They told you to call. And whatever occurred on that Monday just completely threw me off. It seemed urgent. It seemed important. But I remember by the end of the day, Monday, looking down and going, I have waited 2 months for this. How did I not call? How did I not do this? How did I miss this? So I missed the deadline by not having the right habit machine, by not utilizing what I teach. Some of these incidences, when I've missed the deadlines, are the incidences that occurred to me to create the systems so that I have all the different protections in order to do that. I have reminder systems. I have people reminding me. I get text 5-minute warnings and recuperating and rejuvenating, all types of, bells and whistles. And sometimes it may seem like overkill, but very rarely do I miss. All right, next. What is the best way to eliminate bad habits that are entrenched in your daily routine? Eating poorly, substance use, etc. Well, number one is to lower the bar. Don't try, if a habit is ingrained in your conscious, that's one thing. It'll take at least 21 days minimum. If it's in your subconscious, it'll take even longer. And if it's quantum, ancestrally inherited, if it's part of you, it may take lifetimes. So what do we have to do? We got to start the change. We have to start being what you want to be. You start being the change you want to be. And so what we want to do is, number one, lower the bar to stop doing that and replace it with a habit that may be more productive and aligned with your values. And so, but you have to have one thing. You must be what you can be. You have to have the desire. You can practice the skills. You can acquire the knowledge. You can lower the bar and start the stop and stop the start. But until you tell yourself, and I use the trigger word capability in my mind, when I have something that I don't want to do, if I'm getting tired or if I'm doing, I just tell myself capabilities. What capabilities do I have? What skills do I have? What knowledge do I have? And what desire do I have in order to effectuate the discipline and the habit that I need to stop creating interferences, voids, and shortages in my life, to stop creating interference to the greatest source of inspiration, of power, light, love, and lessons that I can allow to come through me for others. And I start thinking about those things. The hardest habit I ever had to break was chewing tobacco, because quantumly I'm addicted to nicotine. It's a very strong addiction genetically within me. My dad smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day till almost the day he died. And I am controlled by nicotine. And it took me years and years until I started telling myself I have the capability. I would lie to myself and say, I don't want to quit. I love chewing tobacco, cancel, all of these things, until I said to myself, I have the skill to stop. I have the knowledge to stop, and I have the desire to stop. Step by step, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's very hard. Remind yourself of your capabilities, stick to it, lower the bar. How can you tell if your employees are productive or if they are just making themselves busy? So, if you have a business and you do not have certain KPIs about your employees, then you're making a mistake. You'll never know if they're as productive as they can be. Salespeople are the best at this. I'm very much a realist when it comes to sales. I always joked around with the thousands of sales reps I had. I said, if I had a guy that could hit his comp plan working a minute a day, I'd be fine with it. I tried to inspire him to work 2 minutes a day and double his comp plan, or 5 minutes a day and 5 times it. But the same thing holds true with the productivity of people that you have in and under your employment. That you want to make sure that they have productivity indicators that show this is some action items that you need to get done, and be able to ask them, did they get done? How long? I have one of my employees did not get stuff done, and I said, did 480 minutes today. How is this right not getting done? What are you doing? And then for me, I use PIPs, performance improvement plans. I take it as a personal accountability that I'm not teaching someone in order to be productive. And if after 90 days they cannot still be productive, I ask them to leave and I find someone that can be. How do you set boundaries around your time when you have superiors at work? Well, I think taking in consideration the action items that your superiors give you within the context of being a student of your calendar is part of prioritization. Right? According to your personal experiential giving and receiving values, you should know that where and when the action items that you're given by superiors or people that have in a social contract with you in order to effectuate things getting done, and you should prioritize those things accordingly. It's just a matter of prioritization and utilization of time. We can allow our egos to get in the way and feel as if someone's telling us what to do and that we have a separation between them. But if you are truly aligned in being a productive, accessible, and gracious employee, knowing that you are paid money to do something and that you should prioritize that, those people that treat their own productivity as if they own their own business always end up far, far ahead. The truth always comes out. Right? You could talk the talk all you want, but promise you, the productivity speaks for itself. The relationship speaks for itself. Everybody knows the truth, and worse, you do as well. So walk the walk, do the best that you can. People that are doing the best that they can are consistently asking for help. They're the ones who say, hey, I noticed this isn't going on. How can I get better? What do you think about this? The best person I have at my business is my chief betterment officer at this. He's constantly pointing out things that are not going up to his expectation and looking for guidance. Those who don't ever ask for guidance, I know what's going on, and they can talk all they want, but how many times have they called with a good idea to say, hey, I was looking at this, we're not doing this, can you help me? How do I get a higher close ratio? How do I get more efficient? But instead, they're usually below the line in blame, shame, and justification. Very, very obvious. I recently completed my MBA program. Congratulations. First person in my family to complete college and get a master's degree. Even more incredible. And I'm running into issues with expanding my network. What are your suggestions on network expansion for someone in my position? Everyone on the networking side, utilize your time simply by asking, do you know anyone that can help me? Everyone is a sponsor or a power sponsor of yours. Whether you meet them in person for the first time, via email, social, right, media, radio, print, TV, or even telephone, have a plan, have a strategy every single day to utilize all the sponsors and power sponsors out there to help effectuate what you want by simply asking, do you know anyone that can help me? The biggest misnomer in networking is that there's gatekeepers, that somehow there's people out there that are trying to stop you from being successful. They're trying to create interference, voids, and shortages for you. Not true. Everybody's a sponsor. They want to help you. You have to just ask and allow them and be patient and understand time and understand that time, value, and emotion will at times not allow you to have the synergy or the supplementary help that you need at that time. But eventually it will come around, and you're just aggregating and building momentum and a pipeline of help by asking everyone in person, on the phone, via email and media, radio, print, TV, and social media, do you know anyone that could help me? Do that every day. Most people on average know over 1,000 people. Imagine if you do that every day, that's 4,000 people minimum, just asking one person in person, on the phone, via email or media. Imagine if you do 10, 20, 30, you'll build momentum, you'll build a pipeline, you will be able to create exactly what you want and when you want it by allowing people to sponsor you and become power sponsors. All right, last question. Remember, get your free training guide, your Power of 64. You can get the time management training guide. You can get my book. It's right here, david@dmeltzer.com. Text me at 949-298-2905. We are having a pitch competition on the 24th of July. So please join me for that. You're going to win free coaching from me. You're going to win all kinds of cool stuff. I might even throw in organic food. I had a company, see what other sponsors I can get in there. But we're going to do a pitch competition. I'm looking at the top 12 pitches for an hour. We're going to do that on the 24th. Next week is about networking. Let's get the last question here, and we'll get to it here. How much time do you suggest in intermingling on platforms to make connections with your audience, other than things such as free webinars? As much as you can, in person, on the phone, email, and media. I even, if someone spams me an email, I'm sending it back and ask. And about 1 out of 10, I'm getting something from that. Whether, free training, book, whatever I can do. You can catch the replays on the podcast, the Playbook, free pitch competition on the 24th. Every Friday, bring your friends, family, etc. We have hit the golden hour. I appreciate everyone. One of my favorite topics, please reach out to me, 949-298-2905. Get your free stuff anytime, david@dmeltzer.com. Register for the free pitch competition as well. I'll see you next Friday. If anybody missed this, I know there's thousands and thousands of registrants, so please go ahead, catch me on Mondays on the Playbook. You can get all of the different trainings, or on YouTube. Go ahead, check it out, all that information. Greatly appreciate everyone. Remember one thing, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.